It always comes to this. More nice shit. Morning guys, here to do another tattoo progress update today. Where I last left off, I had showed off this section of the Cthulhu sleeve with Rick, and that's mostly peeled now. There's still a little bit flaking off this morning, but that stayed fairly bright, similar to the inside here, maybe even brighter, honestly. And it's really good because this area has been a little bit lagging behind anyway in the brightness, so pretty happy with that. I believe we're going to be working more down here, maybe hit the elbow again this coming session. Just doing kind of the same thing, brightening everything up, higher contrast, etc. So, no problems healing that, obviously. And I don't know if it's that I've lost some sensitivity in my arm, but I mean, within an hour after the appointment, it was like I hadn't even been tattooed, and I was peeling in less than 2 days. So that might be a new personal best for me for both of those. It just kind of keeps getting less and less painful, and I keep healing quicker and quicker. People ask me if I would consider giving my body to like an art museum or something like that when I die. I think the only fitting place for me when I'm gone is some kind of a science exhibit, or for my body to be kind of researched for all the layers and what they could do and all that shit. I would find that far more useful than, as I consider myself more of a science experiment by far than an art project. Already so many myths have been debunked, and we continue to debunk myths, but obviously I'm not going to dwell on that point too much more. I'll probably touch on it, but obviously I had a huge session yesterday here, and I'll just go ahead and pull the veil off. So we have a fully redone chest piece and completely different color palette, and some of that was to match up with kind of the new pieces that I have happening on my lower half, the little alien critters and Lovecraftian monsters that I've been getting from Alex and Sarah with the blue and pink color palette. I've really taken to liking that. There were a few things that were done in order to keep this from completely melding with the background, but I believe we'll probably bolden the yellow line weights around the whole exterior of it. You can see when you close up that there are some little yellow lines added in places to kind of pop it off the background, because we do have a blue and red and purple background. It was green and yellow and orange to contrast that, so it may take some effort and a few more layers to kind of distinguish that. Also important to note, with the pink that we used, it was mixing with orange and red in the underbelly of the chest piece. So it does have some redder tones, warmer tones, because those pinks being a little bit colder, they still have to mix with what's there. And as I say all the time, this is more than color on black. This is color on black, on color on whatever the fuck. And so you're never just mixing one tone with one tone. It's always a million different things in the pot. Similar to how I showed off the difference in the turquoise blue looking more green on white and looking more blue on black. All of these things mix, and you get kind of the combined result of that layering. So I'll address the elephant in the room. So the black here obviously isn't going to stay like that. And if anyone thinks that, I can't help you. I mean, especially given who it's on. Like, you should know better by now. This is something I've been thinking about doing for a very long time. Not necessarily the color. The color palette change was, that's fun. But the main thing was to find a way to change the face. And before anyone says anything like, oh, he regrets it or he didn't like it, no, I actually like that tattoo. I like the way that it came out even. I think that by the time that we got through with it and it was finished the way it was, I think it was as nice as what it was could be. I think that the vision for that piece was more swamp monster, and I kind of didn't really like that vibe. I kind of wanted more of a spacey sort of monster there, and I feel like there was room to do that still. And knowing what I know about this, it's like, okay, so let's do that then, right? Like, it was just a matter of how are we going to do that? What's the direction for that? How do we get there? That was kind of the idea I was struggling with, and it took me a while to see kind of what we could do instead. And there were some obvious things that I wanted to get rid of to make room. Obviously, the eyes and the little nose here had to go to give some space for a new piece to kind of take over. And what I came up with is one bigger eye, and it's going to be a kind of yellow green with some white and a blue sort of perimeter around it. I'll put a picture in here. I played around with all different options. The only thing that was a constant was I knew the center had to go somehow, and I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do with that. There was like how much of the center goes. Some versions of it I just had the eyes blacked out. And believe it or not, that looked even more like sunglasses. Right now, he's got his sunnies on. That's what this looks like. It looks like, or another person said, Batman. I didn't expect Terminator. You know, whenever I do anything like this, a fun little game I have now is because I've been in social media terrain forever. It's always like, oh, I wonder what the rabble's going to say this time. They always seem to, for a little while, they hem and haw about what the joke's going to be, and then they kind of come to a consensus on one. Like the bug eye pattern on my eye became the sunflower. The haters that didn't like my old chest piece, it became the vagina monster. You know, things like that. Like it always ends up being like that. But it takes a little while for them to figure out exactly which direction they want to go. There's a collective consensus, and it takes them a little while to all get together on one meme, and then once they find that meme, they kind of share it around, it seems like. And for people going, oh yeah, Remy, no, that's the thing. Like, that's absolutely a thing that happens. It doesn't just happen to me. It happens all over the internet. So I expect for all kinds of insults over this, and that's just par for the course for me. This is of no concern, though. I already know we can cover that. We've already done this a million times. In fact, we have a fairly thin cover. You can see in some light that you can actually see the eyes still through there a little bit. That will mostly go away with healing. A lot of that's going to mute out, guarantee you. But what's happening right now is the colors, which are, I think, quite a bit stronger than the black, are mixing with the black. And when that top layer peels off, you won't see them as distinct. And even if you do, it's like, it doesn't really matter that much, because they'll be faint enough that whatever we do over top of that is going to mute it, especially because this is probably going to take several layers. Well, obviously going to take several layers. It's probably going to be, I would say, 4. When we did the portal on my stomach, sternum area, wherever that is, the eye on my torso, that one we've done 4 passes on the color, and we could probably still make it better. With that said, that whole thing was already a cover up of a blackout that was already covering white and color on black and black on black and all kinds of shit. So that was a multi-layer blackout cover up already. So we've already done this exact thing. This is not new terrain. This isn't like, I wonder if this works. No, I already know it works. There's no wondering about that. It's just, and I probably wouldn't have done it on my chest if I didn't know that already. It's a bit of a kind of visual spot to take a stab in the dark. Like, I wouldn't be experimenting with these things before knowing they work on my face for the same reason. And I like to have a nice chest tattoo that I get to show off and all that shit. And whether you like it or not, that's, it is what it is, stylistic preference. But I already know that this works. And so there's no fear of like, what if it doesn't work? It's just about time to get there. And that's another reason why it's sometimes hard to pull the trigger on these things, because I know what it looks like. I know it'll be, a few months before we're up and running. We could get to work on this, no shit, in 3 weeks if I wanted to. It would be a bit of a slog, but we did that with my head. We started covering the blackout on my head in only 3 weeks. And so if I was really committed to that idea, we could start that soon. What I'm thinking is we will start the new cover-up layer probably about a month, and then another month from then, and then another month from then, and then another month from then, and so on and so forth. Because it's such a small area, I don't really mind hitting it as many times as it takes. It was the same thing with my forehead. Now, I'm happy with how red the forehead is, but we had to do quite a few layers. But it's such a small area, you just tack it on to another session and whatever. The only legitimate issues that I have, and some of that was expected, is the red tones that we have here, because the pink mixed with the orange and stuff, do mute against the red background a bit. So may need to figure out a way to make those pinker. I think that's fairly doable. I think what that's going to take is mixing, now that we have the brightness that I want, doing another layer with a softer pink with a white mixed in, and we should be able to take some of the red and turn it pink. And I did, like I said, and this will still mix a bit, I did anticipate this result to some degree. I also think that the outline around the piece that we did with the yellow, we may end up making a thicker outline to be more in line with the spider eyes. I think at the time it was just like, let's get this on here, and we can come back and buff it up if we need to. I'm not sure we will need to. It just depends on how things settle out. For now, it's hard to see exactly what it's going to look like until it heals. This is not trepidation. Some people would think, well, he's a little more anxious than usual about this. No, it's just, I expect that I'll get very little trust for my direction. Somehow, even though I've done all of this so many times, it's always like it's the first time for a lot of people, and they don't expect that I'll find the result that I'm looking for with it. But I will get there, I guarantee you. Until then, he's going to be wearing his sunnies. And it just is what it is. It's not going to be as crazy when it's healed, though. Black never does look that crazy when it's healed. We used dynamic for this, by the way, because what was in here was not that dark. So I want to reiterate that you can cover Panthera with dynamic. Some people think that you couldn't do like if you have a Panthera blackout, you're finished, because like all my work, for example, that we're doing, the lines and stuff and the black shading is all Panthera ink. But you could use dynamic over top of it if your blackout was Panthera based. It doesn't matter. It's important that if you're going to do another layer over top of it, you should be using separate blacks. And so in here we have dynamic blackout over top of old work, right? Several layers of color, white, etc. Panthera, black lines and shading. And then on top of that, a dynamic black background for a new piece that's going to be done with color. I don't believe there'll be any black really in that, but you get the drift. You can just kind of endlessly do that, but it is wiser to be using different tones of black. So with that said, I'm not sure how the channel's going to feel about this one, but I am optimistic for the direction it's going in. I'll have obviously included the mock-up of what we're doing here. I should mention we also filled in the brain a little bit. We rounded it around the bottom and the sides and the top here to give it more of a kind of brain-like dimension. It was a little too flat, especially with how bolstered all the colors are. But yeah, so I'm really digging the new color palette. Obviously, we re-hit all the white again because we were there anyway, and about 5-hour session. Honest to God, I could sit all day on my chest. I don't mind chest tattoos. I find them pretty easy. Some people will find that strange because there's a lot of, particularly men, hate getting their chest tattooed, it seems like. But I find it really, really fucking easy. And so, yeah, it was a really chill session, and I'm looking forward to doing more on this. But yeah, I'll be showing how this healed a few days here when I have another session with Rick. And then from there, I have a session with Ashlyn next week, finally. We're doing a new piece on my other calf. So when I show you guys that one, I'll show the knee tattoo that I did with Alex and how that healed. All right, talk to you again soon. Have a great day.